الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وبه نستعين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. We are continuing our recitation from Surah Al-A'raf, verses number 105 to 120. Page number 164. Verses 105 to 120, page number 164. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. حقيق على ألا أقول على الله إلا الحق قد جئتكم ببينة من ربكم فأرسل معي بني إسرائيل. قال إن كنت جئت بآية فأت بها إن كنت من الصادقين. فألقى عصاه فإذا هي ثعبان مبين ونزع يده فإذا هي بيضاء للناظرين. قال الملأ من قوم فرعون إن هذا لساحر عليم يريد أن يخرجكم من أرضكم فماذا تأمرون. قالوا أرجح وأخاه وأرسل في المدائن حاشرين يأتوك بكل ساحر عليم. وجاء السحرة فرعون قالوا إن لنا لأجرا إن كنا نحن الغالبين. قال نعم وإنكم لمن المقربين. قالوا يا موسى إما أن تلقي وإما أن نكون نحن الملقين. قال ألقوا. فلما ألقوا سحروا أعين الناس واسترهبوهم وجاءوا بسحر عظيم. وأوحينا إلى موسى أن ألق عصاك فإذا هي تلقف ما يأفكون. فوقع الحق وبطل ما كانوا يعملون فغلبوا هنالك وانقلبوا صاغرين وألقي السحرة ساجدين. صدق الله العلي العظيم.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Now in Surah Al-A'raf we are beginning with the story of Prophet Musa, which is one of the most oft-repeated stories in the Qur'an. The story of no other prophet has been repeated so often than the story of Prophet Musa, and there was good reason for repeating that story. Just as the people of Prophet Musa struggled to come out of slavery and persecution, so did the people around the Prophet of Allah have to struggle as well. And they took a role model and an example in the struggles of Prophet Musa. Now when Prophet Musa comes to Fir'aun, amongst the first things that he says to Fir'aun is the verse that we recited last week, where he says, وَقَالَ مُوسَى يَا فِرْعَوْنُ إِنِّي رَسُولٌ مِّن رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. And Musa said, O Fir'aun, I am a messenger from the Lord of the universe. The first thing that you notice is that Prophet Musa is not into praising or lauding or showing formalities to Fir'aun. Anybody else speaking to Fir'aun might have said, Your Excellency, Your Highness, I have come as a messenger. Says Fir'aun, I have come as a messenger. Okay, as a messenger from the Lord of the universe. This term, Rabbul Alameen, We use it over and over again. In fact, every day in our salat we recite it. In Surah Al-Fatiha, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. And to some extent, to understand its context, we have to go back a little bit in history. Imagine during the time of the Holy Prophet, or even during the time of Prophet Musa. They used to worship, there were so many tribes. And each tribe had their own Lord and their own God that they believed took care of them. And they also believed in a God for rain, and a God for the sun rising, and a God for harvest, and a God for fertility, and a God for this, and a God for that. And Prophet Musa is telling them, I have come from the Lord of the universe. He's the Lord of us all, the Lord of Fir'aun, the Lord of Musa, the Lord of the Coptics, the Lord of the Bani Israel as well. Rabbul Alameen. حقيق على ألا أقول على الله إلا الحق. And whatever I tell you about God, I tell you with the truth. I'm not telling you these things because I have a personal agenda. I have a personal interest. For example, when you go back into history, during the time of some of the Khalifs, they used to prefer the Ash'ari school of thought. And the Ash'ari school of thought used to preach that everything has been completely predestined by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Your Lord is a Lord who predestines everything. Why did they prefer that theology? Because they could tell the people, the subjects who are under them, that you should not rebel against us. You should not rise up against us. Even if we are the most oppressive of rulers, you should do that. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has destined for us to be rulers and for you to be subjects. So they would preach this theology because they had a personal interest to be gained from it. Prophet Musa says, حَقِيقٌ عَلَىٰ أَلَّا أَقُولَ عَلَى اللَّهِ إِلَّا الْحَقِّ. Whatever I tell you about God, I tell you because it is the truth. قَدْ جِئْتُكُمْ بِبَيِّنَةٍ مِّن رَبِّكُمْ. I have come with clear signs for you from my Lord. Now we know that these clear signs, they either refer to clear arguments or they refer to miracles. Okay? فَأَرْسِلْ مَعِيَ بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلِ. Now this is very strange. Every prophet who comes to his community, the first message that he preaches is the message of Tawheed, the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Fir'aun, I have come from the Lord of the universe. I speak the truth to you, and I have brought clear signs. What is your message, Ya Musa? My message is, just release the children of Israel. Why isn't the message of Tawheed first? And we know that he preached the message of Tawheed. We know from other verses of the Qur'an, he also preached the message of Tawheed to Fir'aun as well. And they had arguments about it as well. But why send with me the children of Israel? It will come to it. Let this question linger in your mind, but the answer will come after a few verses. What is interesting is that he tells Fir'aun, I have some miracles. But he doesn't present those miracles. You have to notice these things in the Qur'an. These are nuances and subtleties in the Qur'an. They should bother you. And you should say, well, if you brought the miracle, show it. He says, no, I've got some miracles. I'm showing it to you. He waited until Fir'aun says, قَالَ إِن كُنْتَ جِئْتَ بِآيَةٍ. If you brought a clear sign, فَأْتِ بِهَا. Then show it to us. إِن كُنْتَ مِنَ الصَّادِقِينَ. If you are speaking the truth. Why did he do that? Well, maybe first he wanted a confession from them that we are willing to accept the truth as long as we see a clear sign. That could be one argument. But the other argument is something I've been telling you over and over again. When prophets of God come with their messages, they don't need miracles to demonstrate their messages. Their messages are based on haqq. It makes sense according to the human fitrah. You don't need a miracle to tell you that slavery, the way they were enslaving the Bani Israel is wrong. That doesn't need a miracle. Right? But they say, no, if you present a miracle, then we will accept you. فَأَلْقَ عَصَاهُ فَإِذَا هِيَ ثُعْبَانٌ مُبِينٌ. He threw down his staff and it turned into a very clear snake. Now, ثُعْبَانٌ مُبِينٌ here means that it wasn't any sleight of hand. Mubin means clear. It wasn't trickery. It wasn't deceiving the eyes. It was a real snake. But it seems to me that they still did not believe that this was a real snake. They just thought, just like all the other magicians, they make snakes for us, he's also making a snake for us. Okay? وَنَزَعَ يَدَهُ, and he removed his hand. Naza'a in Arabic, when something is resting at a place and you pull it out of that place, it's called naza'a. For example, when the soul comes out of the body, it's called the removal of the soul. So he removed his hand either from his jeeb, from his pocket, or from under his arms. Okay? And when he removed it, فَإِذَا هِيَ بَيْضَاءُ لِلنَّاظِرِينَ, it became white and shining and illuminating for those who are looking at it. Now, how do they respond to this? They asked for a miracle, they were given 2 miracles. So now, Fir'aun has a spin factory. People who spin, people who do the media for him, who give him a spin to everything that's happening. And these were the people who are around. So what did they do? I know you are following the elections down south. Alright? And it's a very interesting election that they're having. Besides the political aspect of it. But you look at, for example, a person like Donald Trump. Alright? Not that any of the other ones are any different. In any case, look at Donald Trump. And he, for example, wants to create xenophobia, Islamophobia as well. So what does he do? Let's take the example of the Mexicans who are coming there. They're coming from the border. Some of them are illegal immigrants. But they're hardworking people. And they work hard and they maintain their jobs in America. So he does 2 things. The first thing that he does is he starts labeling them. They're thieves, they're cheaters, and some very other labels which I don't want to say right now. Okay? The second thing he says is, if they come, they're going to take your jobs away. If they come, they're going to spoil your land. If they come, this is what they're going to do to you. So number 1, labeling them. And number 2, saying that if they come, they will take something away from you. That's exactly what Fir'aun does. Look at this. قَالَ الْمَلَأُ مِنْ قَوْمِ فِرْعَوْنَ, the leaders from the people of Fir'aun say, إِنَّ هَذَا لَسَاحِرٌ عَلِيمٌ. Yes, this is all good. He's just a great magician. That's all he is. Label him, number 1. يُرِيدُ أَن يُخْرِجَكُم مِّنْ أَرْضِكُم. Do you know what he wants to do? He wants to remove you from your land. The land of your forefathers. The land that belongs to you. That's what he wants to remove from you. فَمَاذَا تَأْمُرُونَ. Now what are you going to do about it? Now do you see why when Prophet Musa came to Fir'aun, the first thing that he said to him is, send the Bani Israel with me. That is all I have come for. I have not come to remove you from your land. All I want are the children of Israel, the Bani Israel. You give them to me, that is all that I want from you. Alright? But they still say that he has come to remove you from your land. قَالَ أَرْجِعْ وَأَخَاهُ وَأَرْسِلْ فِي الْمَدَائِنِ حَاشِرِينَ. Let's take a moment. Let's not be rash in passing judgment. Okay? The Mufassirin mentioned this means that let's not kill them right away or put them in prison right away. Because it may be that if we put them in prison right away, people's public opinion may change against us. So what should we do? Let us set him up for failure. Okay? Send them back. And on the other hand, we will ask all the magicians in all the different cities and all the different towns to come together so we can have a big showdown. And Fir'aun is not the only one who used to do that. You find, subhanAllah, during the time of the other khulafa, they used to try and do that with our imams as well, right? Ma'mun tried that with Imam al-Rida. Showdown. We will bring you, and then we'll bring the leaders of the Christians and the scholars of the Jewish and the Zoroastrians and the atheists, and hopefully one of them will be able to defeat the imam. Right? And you know what happened to that plan is exactly what happened to this plan as well. Now, as we go through these verses, you find that the Qur'an is going to set it up. It's going to, help us to appreciate what a big deal it was at that time when this happened. All right? Now, all of the verses that are coming, some of them have certain details, and you ask yourself, well, what is the point of this detail? But it's just helping us to appreciate what a big scene it was when this actually happened during that time. Okay? It was a big deal about it. وَجَاءَ السَّحَرَةُ فِرْعَوْنَ. Now all the magicians came to Fir'aun. قَالُوا إِنَّ لَنَا لَأَجْرًا إِن كُنَّا نَحْنُ الْغَالِبِينَ. Is there an incentive for us, an extra incentive for us, if we are victorious? In other words, is there any money in it for us? Like, we will do our best as long as you give us an incentive to do our best. So he said, not only will I give you an incentive, I am going to give you even more of an incentive. Right? So he says that, قَالَ نَعَمْ وَإِنَّكُمْ لَمِنَ الْمُقَرَّبِينَ. Yes, not only am I going to give you wealth, I am also going to give you power as well. You will be amongst my close advisors. I will give you positions which are very close to me. Now there is power and there is money involved, right? قال نعم وإنكم لمن المقربين قالوا يا موسى إما أن تلقي وإما أن نكون نحن الملقين. So when they met in that contest, they were so filled with arrogance, they were so filled with confidence, they were so filled with pride, that you know when somebody is in a contest and they're very confident about themselves, what do they say? You want, you start? If you want, I can start. You want to throw the first punch, you throw it. Or if you want, I'll throw the first punch. It really doesn't matter to me because I'm going to be defeating you. Right? That's arrogance. That's the arrogance that they showed to Prophet Musa. If you want, you throw down the staff. Or if you want, we will do it. Whichever one. We're very confident. قَالَ أَلْقُوا. He said, well, you throw it down. فَلَمَّا أَلْقَوْا سَحَرُوا أَعْيُنَ النَّاسِ وَاسْتَرْهَبُوهُمْ وَجَاءُوا بِسِحْرٍ عَظِيمٍ. When they threw down their staff, they deceived the eyes of the people. And we've explained this before a number of times. They didn't really create snakes. What they did was they used mercury, they put them in some sort of objects, those objects would wiggle and move, they painted eyes and mouth and it made it look like a snake, so when they would throw it down, it would look like a snake is moving. People back then as well, something that simple, if they hadn't seen it before, they thought it was a snake. Now, one of the things that is not mentioned over here, but Mufassirin of the Qur'an mention, is they say, just try to imagine for a moment how they would have done it. I mean, they didn't just throw down the sticks that they had, right? I'm sure they were chanting at that time, the way magicians would chant. And they used some smoke, and they set up the scene. And when you've seen all of that coming together, and now you see the snakes moving, وَاسْتَرْهَبُوهُمْ. The Qur'an said, it cast terror in the eyes of the people, in the hearts of the people. Right? They were amazed by what these magicians had done. Now try to imagine at that time, Fir'aun sitting on his throne, feeling so proud, feeling so confident, feeling so victorious, feeling on top of the world that we proved it, we showed it to him. Right? Nobody can touch us now. And at that moment, when he felt he was invincible, that is the moment that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala totally demolished him. This is a powerful message. That no ruler should feel that just because he's got the media and he's got the army with him and he's got full control and everything is going the way he wants it to go, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cannot turn the tables around in less than a day or less than an hour. Right? And what did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do? It wasn't anything intricate. It wasn't anything complex. He just tells Prophet Musa, just throw that stick down. And the rest of it is history. Right? Just throw that stick down. That's as simple as how it is. Right? When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to change the conditions, that is how simple it is. فَأَلْقِ. So we're told, قَالَ أَلْقُوا وَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَى مُوسَى أَنْ أَلْقِ عَصَاكَ. We told Musa, throw down your staff. Now, in some of the other ayat of the Qur'an, we're told, فَأَوْجَسَ فِي نَفْسِهِ خِيفَةً. In his heart, Prophet Musa felt a sense of fear. What was he afraid of? Was he afraid that his magic wouldn't be big enough? He was a prophet of God. He had already seen what that staff can do. God had already showed it to him. Right? What was he afraid of? In Nahjul Balagha, our first Imam, Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi afdalu salati wa salam,
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad,
says that he was afraid that perhaps the people's hearts may sway towards Fir'aun. Right? That they may not understand. If they only saw his magic and their magic, it wouldn't be a clear victory. Right? Okay, so you did something that they could also do. What's the big deal about it? So then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, no Musa, we've taken care of it. You throw that staff down, we'll take care of the rest. فَإِذَا هِيَ تَلْقَفُ مَا يَأْفِكُونَ, and it consumed and cancelled all of the false things that they had created. فَوَقَعَ الْحَقُّ وَبَطَلَ مَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ, the truth became apparent and invalid became what they were doing. And they were, Prophet Musa was victorious and the others were vanquished. And at that time, all the people, the magicians of Fir'aun, fell down in prostration to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now why the magicians? Why not the other leaders? Why not Fir'aun? Why not the other subjects? Because everybody had gathered to see what was happening, right? Almost, if you can think of a coliseum, there's thousands of people watching what's happening over there. Why, if all those people, the magician fell down, they accepted the word of Prophet Musa, and what happened to them when they decided to accept the truth, and what price did they pay? Inshallah, we'll cover that tomorrow. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala